Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning. Hope you're having a great start to your day as you get your notices and we say hello to a few of our dear friends. Dear friends, I mean that. Okay, and Kevin, you're up number 1 today. Mike from Norland, how is you? Andrea from Niagara Falls. And Francis Marie, good morning. Nativity, good morning. And Nick from our staff back in Sudbury, good morning. Jen, Cape Breton, Cary, Nebraska. Brahim from Portland, Oregon, good morning. Micheline, bonjour. Wendy, how are you? People were asking about you, Wendy. Sandy, Washington State. Georgie, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Thunder Bay, Janet, good morning. Jeanette from our staff. Stephanie from Georgia. Maria, good morning. Vera, Newfoundland. Susan, good morning. Donna, Bell Valley. And Milika from Stouffville. Wanda, Virginia. Susan, good morning. Razan, how are you? Barbara, Cape Breton. No power, huh? Cecilia, Sudbury, never heard of it. Jeanette, bonjour. Bobby, Kitchener. Debbie, Sturgeon Falls. Rita from Barrie. Fern, Tisdale, Saskatchewan. Sue and Deb, Motown. And Bonnie, Little Britain. Nellie, good morning. Couple more. Sherry. Oh, I want to sing, Sherry. You have no idea. Kathy, good morning. And Rita. And Rhonda. And Yolande, bonjour. Serpa, good morning. From Dowling. Leela. Corrine, New Brunswick. How do you say that? Neguac? Veronica, how are you? Sharon, Ann, Moncton, New Brunswick. Wynyard, Saskatchewan. Shirley, you guys are unreal. Mary Jane from Connecticut. Linda, hello Linda from Pennsylvania. Manette, good morning. Deb from Timmins. Guys, you are my dear friends, you know that. Elise, bonjour. Sandra, Brampton. Okay, Sue, how are you? Carol, up in Northern Ontario, Kapuskasing. Connie, Dave, good morning. Fran from Orangeville. And Mary. Okay, here we go. Karen, good morning. Brenda from Campbell River, bright and early, British Columbia. Erie, Pennsylvania. Somche? Shirley. Oh, I probably brutalize your names, guys. I don't mean to. Marla, how are you, from Ottawa? Another Gary on there. Dale, Waterloo. Okay, now, I know I missed so many. Hi, Diane. Bonjour. And Carol from Newfoundland. Okay, now, yesterday, a lot of you missed it because I did an afternoon session. What I did yesterday, I talked about the war on vitamin D. Because someone can, and listen, you are allowed, guys, to come in on our private Facebook group. It's a private group, but if you're part of it, and we want you to be part of it, you can pontificate on there. Okay, you can put your opinions, you can, it's as long as 2 things, okay? 1, when you put your opinion on there, okay, be nice, okay? Be nice. That's important, okay? 2, understand that if you put something there that I think, okay, and if I see it, and if I think it's not right, I'm going to push back a little bit, okay? Because, look, I'm very opinionated, if you haven't figured that out. No, but seriously, guys, okay? And the reason I'm saying that, okay? And again, we invite people. What my job is here is to educate. I'm giving you generally, because I think you would all agree with it, it's very controversial because I come at it in a different way. Am I right? I think so. Okay. My background is clinical nutrition, and I'm going to talk to you mostly about food and obviously about health. But I'm very opinionated, and people sometimes come on the Facebook or whatever and say, I'm confused, okay? Or someone posted the other day, Monday, I think, but I'm going to say Monday, that vitamin D is very dangerous. And look, guys, I mean, you post that and you're going to get pushback. Because I've been studying and recommending vitamin D for almost 50 years now. I'm a big guy on vitamin D. And at one time I was part of their a council that looked at all the research on vitamin D, funded research on vitamin D. And I just did it in my practice because I find it to be one of the most important biomarkers there is. Everybody needs vitamin D, and you're a human solar panel. I've said that. We actually have a new term that we use throughout the pandemic, and we called it Viderma. The importance. And the more they study, a new study just came out. New study just came out. 2 new studies just came out on vitamin D. One, okay, the higher your levels of vitamin D are in your brain, remember, your solar panel you got up in your brain too, the higher your levels in your brain, the smarter you are. No, excuse me, cognitive function goes up. You're a human solar panel, okay? 2, okay? A second study on vitamin D is really, okay, one cognitive and the other immune again. They just showed if you have all-cause mortality for cancer and heart disease, people who have optimized level of vitamin D, here's a study, actually have a fighter against heart disease and cancer, the 2 biggest killers in our society. Do you think that's significant? It's more than significant. But, like I said, yesterday, there's a war on vitamin D. So that'll come out as a podcast next week. So if you missed it yesterday, okay, listen to the podcast on The Doctor Is In, The War on Vitamin D. And I tell you why. I tell you why it's not true. I mean, what they're saying about vitamin D. And anyway, okay? But today, I'm going to talk to you about another war that's going on. Okay? Now, again, it's in a response to what was put in our private Facebook group. And again, we invite you. And there was someone there yesterday or maybe the day before that said, I'm confused. I'm looking up diets and cancer, and almost everyone, with the exception of Dr. Martin, and maybe there's a few others, are telling people to avoid red meat. Okay? And I pontificated on there. Now, most of you, when you saw that post, you were in there saying what I would say. Okay? But let me break it down again and tell you why there's a war on red meat. Why there's a war on red meat. And I really write about this in my new book, Sun, Steak, 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 and Steel. Okay? I write about it, the war. Now, why is red meat so vilified? Why is that? I'm a history guy. I loved history even in high school. I did. I was a history guy. I like to go back, and especially in medicine, and study, okay? And look at history. Because you can learn a lot from history, okay? You can learn a lot from history. And I think you guys would admit, if you've listened to me for any length of time, I'm big, big, big on why. So why is there a war on red meat? Okay? Now, there's a war on meat in general, but red meat in particular is vilified today like nobody's business. Go on Netflix, and it's one after another after another. Google, why is red meat so bad for you? Google red meat and cancer, and you will get one article after another, after another, after another. And I'm telling you, it ain't true. It's not true. But there's a war. And if you understand that, it's really important. So let me give you a history again. None of this is new to you, but there's repetition. You have to understand, where did the war on red meat start? It actually started in the 1800s. Okay? Well over 100 years ago. And there's a fellow by the name of Dr. Kellogg's, who was a vegetarian, and I don't want to get into details, but he, even in a religious fashion, thought that red meat was terrible. Well, actually any animal product, but especially red meat, was no good for you. He was a medical doctor, wasn't stupid, but he had a bias. And he was so convinced that he invented cereal. Okay? Because he just believed that red meat was so bad for you, you needed to eat cereal, so he actually created cereal. Dr. Kellogg's. Who hasn't heard of Kellogg's? Kellogg's Corn Flakes. Kellogg's Rice Krispies. Kellogg's blah, 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 blah. Special K. And people, now remember, and you just got to understand this, guys, that very few, especially in the medical field, knew anything about food. And Dr. Kellogg's wasn't stupid. And what he did is that they infiltrated all the teaching on nutrition, because there wasn't much. First of all, look at the history. I've studied it many a time. There was very few guys like me around that had any background in nutrition. And they actually started, Dr. Kellogg started the dietitian's profession. Okay? And they influenced every decision that was made on food. And thus, you had your mantra. Fiber, fiber, fiber. And red meat is bad for you. Okay? And guys, that's a fact. That's a fact. Then, in the 1950s, you had another, what I call serial killer. Now, I don't mean cereal with a C. I mean serial killer with an S. Because, in my opinion, Dr. Kellogg's has killed, he didn't mean to, millions of people. And then we had a fellow by the name of Ancel Keys, one guy, who turned nutrition on its head after the President of the United States had a heart attack. His name was President Dwight Eisenhower. He was playing golf, dropped, had a heart attack, didn't die, but in the news, for the first time, it was mentioned that cholesterol was the problem with with the President of the United States. His cholesterol was high, therefore that's what causes heart disease. Never talked about smoking at all. The fact that the president was smoking 4 packs of cigarettes a day. But that didn't come into the equation. And my friend, listen to me. Listen, Linda, the rest is history. The cholesterol hoax started in 1955. By 1965, Ancel Keys, one man, was on the front of Time magazine. He was so influential to every medical school, every dietitian that ever lived, and even in my PhD studies in nutrition, influenced my studies. And it was this: red meat, bad, bad, bad. Why? Cholesterol. And between those two serial killers, my friend, okay, we have today more heart disease than ever. Yep. We have more cancer than ever. And they were looking for love in all the wrong places. You don't get sick from a lack of fiber. The reason they put a heart on the box of cereals, like Cheerios, is because if you eat that stuff, you are going to get a heart attack. There is absolutely nothing better for you to eat. Let me say it again. There is absolutely nothing better for you to eat than steak. Well, liver, yeah, but I don't like liver. Okay? There's just nothing better. Because, you see, I had to undo the teaching that came out of the 1800s, 1920s, whatever, on fiber, and anything else was bad for you. You need cereal, and then cholesterol. It's bad, bad, bad news. And they preached it and taught it until the cows came home. And what's happened? You have a complete generation, 2 generations, and now 3 generations. My parents' generation, my generation, my kids' generation, 4, and my grandchildren's generation. They're believing the lie on red meat. And that's why it's confusing. I don't blame you guys for being confused about that. Because, like I said, Google 100 sites and they will tell you that red meat causes cancer. Red meat's no good for you. Red meat is devoid of fiber. Red meat is blah, 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 blah. Don't eat bacon. Have our cereal. And guys, I've been telling you this for as long, listen, before you, some of you know this, I had a radio show for 20 years, before podcasting, okay? Who would have thought I'd be doing a podcast? I was a radio guy. And, what? I used to preach it way back then. I haven't changed my tune at all. I sing from the same song sheet over and over and over again because I want you. I am trying to convince you of what the truth is. But if you look back at history and you understand that, wow. But I'm not holding my breath. I'm not holding my breath that I am going to change medical thinking, dietitian thinking, and even some of my guru friends that are PhDs in nutrition. Okay? They drink the Kool-Aid, my friend. They drink the Kool-Aid. And I have been saying for 50 years, even though I was taught differently, that cholesterol is not the boogeyman. Cholesterol is important. Your body only makes 85% of it because God don't trust you. You better provide the other 15. And people that die young die because they don't have cholesterol. They don't have enough of it. And heart disease, if cholesterol lowering was the key to heart disease, we'd have won that war already because people bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. But guess what, guys? It doesn't work because it ain't true. And when it comes to cancer, it's not true either. Now, let me give you a little bit more background, okay? Just a little bit, because I watched this. So, do you understand the history now? Okay? Why is there a war on red meat? Okay? It's mainly from Dr. Kellogg's and Dr. Keyes. Got it? Okay. The other now has turned into a war of propaganda on climate. Cows fart. They're affecting CO2. Guys, I'm sorry. Like, that is the craziest thing I ever heard in my life. Honestly. Do you really believe that? You know, those poor cows. Okay? So it's climate, and I call it the climate religion. And do you think that we're going to win the war on that? Nah, I'm not optimistic. Because they're not stupid. Who did they go after? They didn't go after old farts like me. They go after kids in school, and they indoctrinate them. Meat is bad. Meat is bad. It's bad for you, and it's bad for the environment. And they teach little kids. And then you got a pile of tree huggers. And they, you know, I used to have, I had a lot of young people come to my office, okay? And I remember, and they were, you know, I love young people. But I remember I heard it, if I didn't hear this 50 times in my practice. Doc, I don't eat anything with eyeballs. If they got eyeballs, I can't eat that. I said, I got eyeballs. I want you to look into mine. You've been indoctrinated. Okay? Cows eat grass so you don't have to. You know how many times I said that? Cows are meant to eat grass and salad so you don't have to. And they'd look at me like, what? Yeah. A cow is meant to be a vegetarian and a vegan. So you don't have to be. Okay? That was me. So, 1, go back in history. 2, why is there a war on red meat? Because of the environment, the climate. Okay? Does it make sense to you? Don't make no sense, but it doesn't matter. It's the mantra. It is the narrative of today. No wonder it's so confusing. How can red meat, Dr. Martin, be good for you when everybody's telling me it's not good for me? Okay. Got it? And the third one is animal elevation. What do I mean by that? Well, it's part of the indoctrination. Animals are higher on the food chain than people are. You know? Higher on the food chain than people are. I don't know if you saw this or not. It came out the other day where, I can't even remember the guy's name. Carl Schwab or whatever his name is. He's part of the World Health Organization and the World Council on whatever. And somehow, unelected, he tells everybody what to do and what to eat and what to, anyway. He said, I think we're going to have to get rid of pets because they're really, really hard on climate. I said, you know what? You better not go there. You can get rid of people. And people will maybe agree with you, but you better not get rid of pets. Because now people are going to go crazy. Now look, guys, you love your pet, good for you. All I'm saying is it's another reason that there's a war on red meat. People elevate the animal kingdom above the human beings. Now, okay? Now, let me just say this because I have been talking for a long time this morning on the war on steak. The war on steak. Okay? It's not true. It's not true. I listened to a podcast the other day. It was interesting to me. I'm a hockey guy. I love hockey. I love baseball even more. Okay? But I was listening to a hockey podcast and they had a vegan on there who used to be in the NHL. And his name is George Laraque. And he's a vegan. Okay? And on the podcast, he was talking about hockey, but then they talked, with the host, they talked about, oh, George, you're a vegan. Yeah. And I see you take supplements. And he said, oh yeah, I have to. I'm a vegan, and therefore vegans have to take B12. Hello? Hello? Doesn't that tell you something? If you're a vegan, you need to supplement with B12 because you don't get B12 in plants. Folks, listen to me. I'm not a carnivore. And people accuse me of that. I'm not a carnivore. I'm a nutrivore. I'm into nutrition. And when you don't eat red meat, listen, Linda, you need B12. You don't get it in the plant kingdom. But because medicine, and they weren't always like this. They weren't always like this. I'm old enough to tell you that almost every doctor in the 1950s and in the 1960s was trained on the importance of B12. They were trained on it. But today, doctors, B12, B12, B12. You don't need B12. Your B12 is normal. Yeah, but guys, when they measure B12, low and high B12, like there's eternity between them. Okay? And when you don't understand the importance of B12, George Larac did, because he said, I got to take B12 every day. I don't get it being a vegan. Well, that should be your first clue. That should be your first clue that what you're teaching isn't right. You're missing an essential vitamin. And if you have to take a supplement of B12 because you're not getting it, that ought to be a clue. It's not in the plant kingdom. But I'll tell you why plants are elevated today. Because plants, the plant kingdom, fruits and vegetables, are they good? Absolutely they're good. So I'm not a carnivore, guys. Fruits and vegetables are good. Okay? They are. But you're not meant to live on them. You're not. First of all, they have no cholesterol. There's no cholesterol in the plant kingdom. It's not in there. Well, that's a good thing, isn't it, Doc? No, that's a bad thing. That's why you do not live on plants. You're not meant to. God gave you a gallbladder. Remember? Why? Not to eat your you don't need a gallbladder for broccoli. You need a gallbladder for steak. You need a gallbladder for eggs. You need a gallbladder for cheese. That's why you have a gallbladder. And even if you lose it, your body will still produce bile. And you need bile for eggs, meat, and cheese. You don't need bile for plants. Kiwi. You don't. Your stomach acidity. You're different than any other, well, you're different than any other person on the planet. That's a fact. But you're different from all other mammals. Okay? You are. A human being has unbelievable acidity, very, very high acidity in their stomach. Yep. You got high acidity in your stomach is a furnace, my friend. And the reason is not because you're eating broccoli. You don't need a high furnace for broccoli. You need a real good furnace for red meat to break it down, to get the nutrients out of it. You're built that way, my friend. You're built to eat steak. You're built to eat steak. And, then I hear the argument, because you're going to hear it. Well, Doc, there's hormones in meat. There is chemicals in meat. There's friend, I tell you, even if you have a garden in your backyard, and I hope you do, good for you. I love that. It's good for you. Yada, 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 yada. It's good. Okay, so don't come and tell me Dr. Martin hates my garden. I don't hate your garden. I think it's a great thing. But when you say it's fully organic, it's never fully organic. If you don't think plastic or other chemicals or whatever are in the environment, are in the soil, in the water, whatever, we just don't live in a perfect world. I wish we did. We don't. So don't say, well, red meat, nah, it's got this, it's got nitrates, it's got this, it's bad, it's growth hormones and this and that. You got that everywhere, my friend, in the environment, and it's in our food chain, and good luck trying to get it out. Okay? You got extra money to eat organic, I applaud you. I applaud you. But you're not chemical free. That is an impossibility in our day and age. It's just impossible. You can't. Okay? You can try and be a purist, but good luck with that. You're just not going to be. You have to understand that. Okay. Okay. I'm breathing. I'm excited. I worked out this morning talking. See, my tongue got a workout. Okay, guys. I love you guys. I got to tell you, you put up with my shenanigans, and I appreciate that. Okay? I appreciate that. I'm giving you the other side, and share this. You know a vegan or a vegetarian friend or whatever, share it, my friend, with them. And get them to listen to the podcast, the Doctor Is In podcast. Thanks for making it the #1 health show in Canada. Okay? You guys done that. Health podcast in Canada. We appreciate that. Okay, now, tomorrow off. I'm traveling tomorrow. Okay? Did you like my Christmas tree in the background there? Okay. I put the lights on. Okay? If it's too bright, let me know. Traveling tomorrow, Friday, question and answer Friday. Okay? So don't look for me tomorrow. I won't be, at least, God willing, I'm traveling. Okay, guys, we love you dearly. Talk to you soon.